I want to begin by first saying that I still stand beside my opinion, my research, my knowledge of us being in a binary solar system, and that a lot of what takes place on our Earth, especially lately, is because of cyclical events. But with that being said, things that are going on in, say, Canada or Maui, or even Paradise, California, this is not natural. So there's something there to look at a little closer. So I just want to say that to begin with. And now we're going to move on to a few more things that I want to share.
Just a few months after being sworn in as president, John F. Kennedy said the following in a speech given before the American Newspaper Publishers Association.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it.
On November 22nd, 1963, President Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. There are hours of damning evidence clearly showing that the CIA, organized crime, and the highest levels of the U.S. federal government were all involved in the of John F. Kennedy, including the magic bullet, the grassy knoll, and the presence of young CIA asset George H.W. Bush in Dallas that day, a day that he claims he could not remember. But the entire operation was blamed on a single lone gunman. An hour after hearing that his brother was dead, Robert Kennedy told his close aide that he was surprised it wasn't him. He thought that he would be the one they would get. Over the next few days, he wrote letters to his children, charging them with the responsibility to love and serve their country and to remember what their Uncle John had started. A few years later, the New York Times published an article claiming that President Kennedy told one of the highest officials in his administration that he wanted to splinter the CIA in 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. On March 16, 1968, Robert Kennedy officially announced he was running for president. On June 5th, following major victories in the primaries, he was gunned down after giving a speech at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, California. Nina Rhodes Hughes was one of a small few who witnessed the assassination, and she claims there was another shooter. She later expressed outrage that the police ignored her statement. The shot that Robert Kennedy was fired up close in the back of his head, and the whole operation was blamed on a single lone gunman who was standing in front of him.
Well, it appears that they concluded within about an hour's time that Saran acted alone, or that was going to be their conclusion, and they thereafter tailored all of the evidence to fit that conclusion.
Regicide is the ritual killing of a king to memorialize a subversion of power. And while the Kennedy family is as greasy as the rest of the swamp, the two brothers stand out like mythical kings. Aside from Dr. Ron Paul, who said we need to get rid of them completely, nobody in government questions the crimes of the CIA. While promoting a book on television in 1978, a young RFK Jr. referred to American politics as a one-party system, and his father and uncle's demise as an occupational hazard. In March of 1999, John F. Kennedy Jr. had a meeting to plan a run for the 2000 U.S. Senate election against Hillary Clinton. 4 months later, he died in a fatal plane crash with all the telltale signs of a cover-up. Recently declassified documents show that Lee Harvey Oswald, the alleged lone gunman in the JFK, was a CIA asset. RFK Jr. is running for president in 2024 and calls out the CIA. He also blames the CIA for his uncle, which he calls a successful coup d'etat from which our democracy has never recovered. And he believes that his father was assassinated by the security guard who shot him from behind after pushing him into their patsy, Sirhan.
One of the interesting things about this case is that Sirhan was reportedly in front of Robert Kennedy, and investigators initially said that he was by a gunshot wound that went through the back of him.
In 2003, the CIA released a classified document with the subject heading Analysis and Assessment of Gateway Process, a process that utilizes audio frequencies to achieve brain hemisphere synchronization. In order to provide a thorough evaluation, the document covers the techniques of hypnosis, biofeedback, and transcendental meditation, thereby providing a modern scientific account of an ancient guarded knowledge of mankind's spiritual potential, a potential that could save humanity from the mind control tactics being used to divide and enslave us. The left brain is the mind's verbal and linear reasoning component. It categorizes and assigns meaning to incoming stimuli and passes this resulting information to the right brain, which is non-critical and accepts whatever information it is given without question. The left brain is the ego mind. It operates on autopilot and can be easily swayed by external stimuli. Most of us are unaware of this because we naturally tend to identify ourselves with the ego. We think that the ego is who we are, but in fact, it is just a part of our mental processing. The right brain is our subconscious mind, and hypnosis is a technique of directly accessing the subconscious by disengaging the ego, giving us self-awareness and control over the subconscious mind. Transcendental meditation achieves this by practicing single-minded concentration of drawing energy up from the base of the spinal cord and into the brain. With practice, this visual concentration eventually polarizes the cortex, bringing both hemispheres into balance, allowing the individual to transcend the ego mind. With biofeedback, rather than suppressing the left brain as done with hypnosis or ignoring it as done with meditation, the practitioner programs the ego mind with visualization while monitoring the physiological response, thereby programming the subconscious mind by observing the results with real-time biological feedback. The gateway process, also known as hemisync, achieves this same goal by simply listening to specific audio frequencies that bring both hemispheres of the brain into synchronicity with one another. All of these practices, some of which have been taught for millennia, have been proven effective with modern scientific tools. The gateway process has been shown to bring the entire body into a coherent vibration of approximately 7 to 7.5 cycles per second, which then creates a resonance with the electrostatic field of the Earth. It is believed that this resonance is what allows the practitioner to transcend time and space, or in other words, allow their consciousness to leave the body without limitation. What we call physical matter is not solid at all. It is more like a highly advanced holographic image made up of different frequencies. What we experience as solid matter is actually the electromagnetic repulsion of certain frequencies, and this includes our own physical body. And so it is believed that the reason these practices work is because our consciousness is not being generated by our bodies, but rather our bodies are being generated by our consciousness. Physicists have proven that the physical world is energy and define time as a measurement of change within this energy. In order for energy to take form, it needs to be limited to a specific vibration. Energy at rest is uniformly extended, without limit. It is everywhere at once. This is why humans are able to remote view, which is a term used by the military for their psychic training protocol, wherein they teach an individual to transcend space and time in order to gather information remotely. And this is how Mr. Guy Savelli was able to drop a goat from 100 feet away with his thoughts. But most importantly, the suppression of this knowledge is how the government is able to program your subconscious mind for you, without you even knowing it, and control what you perceive to be reality.
Now, okay, that video I was trying to play. So, real quick right here, I just want to bring up the goat dropping that they just referred to, just from thought. When I was first learning and practicing these abilities out of you that we have, which all of our intelligence agencies know about, I too, and I have a previous video from a while back that I told the full story about this on, but I too focused on an animal, particular animal, to win a race, and the animal next to it dropped dead so that it could win the race right at the very end of the race. And it was a quite devastating lesson for me in the realization of just how powerful our thoughts can be and how powerful we really are, and that with that power truly comes great responsibility. That was a really hard lesson for me because I never in a million years would wish to bring any harm to any animal or person. Um, and that was not my intent, like it was with the CIA study, of course, with the goat. It was not my intent at all. And yet it happened. So our thoughts are very powerful and they can be very dangerous, or they can be incredibly miraculous as well. Okay. So just keep that in mind as we go along. Okay. And bear with me just a moment. So I want to share something with you that my wonderful colleague worked up on his own before he and I met. And it's exactly the stuff that I've been talking about. It's the missed story of the mystery school. Jesus gave us the keys for our own victory and access to the infinite. And he says infiniti because he's Italian, and I love that about him. The vertical or vortexical bar of the cross through the open door is the nexus of the I am that I am. He was a way shower and an example. Jesus did not say fight the enemy, but used a very Buddhist approach to peace and nonviolence through his thought and knowing. Now, some historians question the existence of Jesus. And whether Christianity was a Roman construct or an inky Luciferian control religion doesn't really matter, because the keys are actually there to master the 3D world. But as Jesus said, it is for those who seek that will find it, for those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, or that knock on the door and it shall open. Unfortunately, many of us for lifetimes have been in this missed story school of judgment, attachment, duality, and ego, instead of living the sweet mystery of life through acceptance, forgiveness, surrender, and presence. The original mystery school, Adam and Eve in paradise, with its original sin, which was inky, was where the atom was split. Adam's rib was split into duality. Good and evil were needed to provide free will choices in Earth's schoolroom. But in this experiment, duality has been the cause of war, control, fear, greed, power, etc. So Fanuzzi's question was, are we closer to the final exam so that we can transcend this holographic world as its systems crumble? If we disconnect from all opposing polarities on the horizontal bar and focus our presence on the I am, which is the vertical bar, the door which no man can shut will open. If you only had hope in Christ, you are of men most miserable. Unless Christ is risen or raised within you, your faith is in the vein, in the blood, and you are yet in your sins. This is Corinthians 1:17. We're talking about the Christos here, the Christos. And John Fanuzzi had a great way of connecting the sacred geometry in the mystery schools of our understanding of the energies and the dualities. The 12-point crystal is the Christos. It is the sacred geometry for Christ raised. It's the perfect piece in the solar plex. It's the phi cycle connector. Jesus was the master of non-duality, and he said, love your enemy. Enemies are your mirror in this world. They appear to teach you something. If you react emotionally or hate them, you are tied to them. That's your karma. You're tied to them. You just entangled yourself in the quantum field with them. And they will keep showing up in your life by many faces. Resist not evil, and it will flee from you. If you do resist, you will have a battle. Resisting invites a fight and an opposing polarity. Judge not lest ye be judged. Mind your own business. Stop gossip. Hold only the immaculate vision for all. No matrices. See your world without the matrix. Turn the other cheek is acceptance of what life deals to you. See each calamity as an opportunity to pay back a karmic debt. Forgiveness is 70 times 7, which equals extreme forgiveness and mercy. The quickest way to cut ties on karmic wheels and enter into the vortex of acceleration. Forgive yourself and forgive others. Say, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. And be healed and free yourself and your karmic partner. What you do unto the least of these, you do unto me. We are all connected to each other through quantum entanglement and are all affected by the pain of others. So offend no one in thought, word, deed, or egoic fanaticism. With what you sow, you reap. That is the karmic law, the opportunity to repeat failed lessons and learn from them. It's the what goes around comes around. Love God wholeheartedly and love your neighbor as thyself. The path to the center of the cross simply is the golden rule. I am the open door which no man can shut. The I am that I am is the vertical axis and the only way through the wormhole, the portal, the stargate, the eye of the needle. It's the peace in your solar plexus. The things I do, ye shall do, and greater things you shall do, because I go unto my Father. This is when Jesus told his disciples to go in 12 different directions and do the same great works as him. And they thought that they couldn't go if he didn't go with them, because he was their muse. And he told them that they could do the same great things as him and more. And so can you. There's much more access to information today. The use of resources, multiply yourself and reach millions. Ye are gods. Jesus said it. Act like one and ascend to 5D. When in consciousness of non-duality, non-judgment, non-separation, and immaculate vision, there are no more oppositions. All energy meets in the middle. When you fear, you give away your fire. You create your own monsters. The following ones are the fallen ones that keep coming back to you. Break the karmic loop and understand that we can completely demolish this matrix with our thoughts. This template was inspired about 5 years ago as John Fanuzzi pondered over world situations. And I'm going to supply you the link to his website so that you can read all of this for yourself, because he has a multitude of great works that he should be recognized for. Let's talk for a moment about the fifth horseman that is here and has been here as of 2021. The judgment of duality, the last trumpet. He writes, if any year could be better known for mass exposure of the inner workings of the power elite system and multitudes finally absorbing the vibrations of those first fruits of the already awakened, 2020 was definitely the year of the 100th monkey awakening. The events of the past 10 years, from the awareness of 9/11 being an inside job, was the first mass red pill awakener. Now we see the Pope and the Vatican no longer able to hide under their palace of perversion. The false flags are now so easy to see through, including global warming, election frauds, worldwide, insider stock trading, and the growing exposure of the pandemic, the false race division, human trafficking. This is just to name a few of the big stories. There's nowhere to hide from the Earth prison controllers. The fifth horseman has been writing, and unlike the other four, he is the mass awakener and commander-in-chief of exposure. This is those veils in Revelations that we've been promised would be lifted. As we look at what 2021 will deliver, let's look deeper into the numbers for clues. With the perception of the 100th monkey's critical mass awakening, there must naturally be a mass rebellion or boycott against the establishment, the corporate system, and especially the news media, whose numbers show the digital warriors have completely taken over. Let's look at the number 2021. It is a 20 and a 21. The number 20 represents judgment in the tarot cards. This portends our insurmountable obstacles and the impossibility of avoiding exposure, which becomes judgment. There's a stripping process from the people of their material wealth, possessions, and the reassessment of values as they stand naked. This could bring us back to tribal living with a renewal of our heart-centered community efforts to survive, at least for the humble. This may be the dividing of the way because the silver spoon-fed blue bloods are not capable of not having servants. There's also the Red Cross, which could mean two lines crossing, 2011. 20 being the horizontal duality material matrix, and the 11 being past and future events on the vertical time bar of the cross. And I could go into so much more about what that Red Cross really represents to the elite, but I won't do that at this time. This Red Cross 11 symbology could be the sign of the testing of the mastery duality. The card does show huge tidal waves that also look like snow-capped mountain ranges. The last trumpet is blown and the dead, the ones asleep in Christ consciousness, are coming out of their graves. A great awakening in a mass resurrection out of the old matrix and curse that we have all been under. As we, the collective alliance, have finally cracked the code of the old empire, we thus take our immortal power back. Our immortal power. The Z-axis connects us to the source. Only after mastering the X and the Y relationships. In astrology, this is the second house of material wealth and possessions. 2 in numerology. The number 2 represents oppositions, where there is the outpicturing of the matrix world of duality. In 2021, there's the number matrix with the 220 to become 21, or 2 to 1, or the portal to enter the age of Aquarius, where 2021 being a 5 or a phi equals 0, which is the only ratio of 0.618, so on and so forth, which is the golden ratio, to get us to the 5D singularity. My friend John Finuzzi is a mastermind with the numbers. And I am so honored to have his permission to pass his knowledge on to you and couple it with mine. 2021 was the next step from 2020 and a continuation of the process, except the 20s are also 11s. They are the master key numbers that show up in duality. And really being synchronistic, the 11 on a higher octave. People and events show up mysteriously at the same time in space crossing. This is going to become more apparent and unavoidable as time accelerates. It is time for resolution or resolution. What seems to bother us and others is merely a mirror of our own shortcomings and lessons. The numerology of mirror one on the wall. The famous quote from the Snow White story is another clue to this understanding of the number 11. By the end of this year of 2021, one would have to be pretty dense to still be trapped in the lies of the religious and political leaders who live for the desire of being worshipped with their age-old control mechanisms of guilt, fear, shame, and control that keep the prison scheme going. Prostitution, the selling of one's soul, is said to be the oldest profession, but the false priests and priestesses of control are turning out to be the biggest pimps, and their whores are the minions who have been raised and groomed in all matters of sexual perverseness that permeate not just the Vatican, but the military, the politicians, the judicial system, the media, and all secret organizations down to the judges and lawmakers in local small towns. You can't seem to get away from it anywhere unless you are part of the boys' club. And if you are part of that club, you can get away with lots of things. 21 will be the year for many who have finally gotten tired of being tricked, who have unknowingly sold their souls in the political and entertainment industries. Thank you, Hill and Bill, O and Mike, George, Father Joe, and all of the great acting clowns for waking up the world. Back to the number 20 versus the number 11. 11 and 20 both equal 2. There's relationships here, and are two faces of the same coin. Black is 11 and white is 11. Jesus is an 11, and so is Lucifer. The Illuminati used the number 11. It's mastery over duality in most of their sacrifices. Maybe they put these contrasting black and white good and evil dramas into practicality, or excuse me, into practically every movie, so that we learn and grow as we get emotionally tied into this duality schoolroom. They always disguise their secrets right in front of us and make a mockery of us as useless eaters. It seems many need the hammer to wake up. The Roman Caesar Church has a black pope and a white pope, and a black Madonna and a white Madonna. Illuminati mottos is Ordo ab Chaos, or out of chaos comes order. Could illusion puzzle be the road to illumination? We are being forced to the middle way, which is the Tao, the yin and yang. If the 20 is not taken to the understanding that there are two ones that are on the same coin, making the 2 or the 2 0, those that keep pointing the finger, engaging with and attracting their personal enemy of duality, that lack of forgiveness, love, and grace, are stuck and will be destined to repeat this earth school. The 11, which is a higher awareness of 2 or 2 0, is the helper that will, by its amazing ability to show up and confirm synchronicity, to provide the awareness to steer our civilization to a new and higher paradigm, which in its understanding of the mirror game allows us to master the 11 and become illuminated beings where neither black or white polarizes us, or in other words, does not cause an emotional reaction. Be the master of relationships. 11. Are we ready yet to move into the center of the cross? Not quite, but it's coming quickly. The center is a vortex, and the frequency is accelerating. Everyone is going to get sucked in, and we can either do it the easy way with acceptance and forgiveness, or we can do it the hard way with resistance and resentment. And those who have failed to repent, they lack the fire, will be the door to the lake of fire for recycling, a fine version of the judgment. I love his play on words. Also to note, the cross is an XY axis, which tests the oppositions to meet in the middle. But when the XY cross is mastered, there is a 3D Z axis, which is the open door to heaven on earth, which is the age of Aquarius, that we usher in. And that's why there is no actual date for when the age of Aquarius truly will begin. That's why this is confusing to everyone, because we decide. Now, let's get positive. Thank you again, Dark Ones, for creating an atmosphere right now of a galactic renouncing of the energy veils of evil on this prism planet. 2021 will be the year of the 100th monkey awareness going hyper and reaching everyone. 2022 sure got the blood boiling, but dim compared to the momentum that's going into 2021. The mainstream media will be unable to keep the lid on the age-old lies and the plot to keep the jacks stuck in the box, which is the matrix. Planetary frequency and vibration could be earth crystal ringing from cataclysmic tapping of the rocks that will increase as we all enter deeper into the vortex of time-space imploding. Coincidences coincidences never before experienced will be everyday events of synchronicity and unified thinking. Immortal warriors of peace, our true nature, has awakened from its long sleep that will break the grips of the old world order, the religious programming, by raising the frequency. We are forced into choices in 2020 and 2021. The axiom and the ancient Greek aphorism, man, know thyself, and Jesus says, know thyself, is coming into focus. Put all polarities aside. It is time to focus, to see duality for the trickery that it is, and to accept and forgive all, including yourself first, for attracting such challenges as we have today. We are entering the center of the cross, the vortex, the glorious judgment, and the path of the middle way. This is our 11 o'clock line. This is our 11th hour, and time for a victory and a rewrite of her story or his story. Are you ready? Infinite blessings from John Finuzzi. Now, there's a lot more really great stuff here to take a look at. So again, I am going to share his links with you, but we're going to be covering a lot of his website's content in many of my future videos. It is necessary in order for you to fully understand who you are, who we are, and what we can do together. And I think I'm going to leave that right there for now. And have a blessed day. Thank you for watching.